How can we know for certain that miracles have occurred in history? What's up, my friends? I pray you guys are blessed in the Lord. Thank you guys for taking the time once again to watch a video on this channel. As you know, the purpose of this channel is to help you stay informed so that you can continue to stand strong in your faith, especially in the cancel culture that we find ourselves in. So what I want to do in this video today is I want to talk about miracles, because here's the big thing about miracles. If miracles have not occurred in history, then the Bible's false, because the Bible talks about miracles occurring. And so Christianity, you guys, is a false religion. So this is a very important topic. So what I want to do is I want to give you guys a running definition of what miracles are. Number two, I want to show you guys the differences between natural occurrences and supernatural occurrences. Then I want to introduce to you two big philosophers who atheists still use to this day. You know, they take their arguments to disprove Christianity by saying miracles don't exist, they don't occur. And therefore, it's a direct violation of the natural realm, and therefore you could toss out Christianity. And so number four, what I want to do is I want to give a rebuttal to those arguments that say miracles have not occurred in life. Now, as you and I know, in the society that we live in, people use the term miracles all the time. That was a miracle shot. That was a miracle that he survived that accident. And so sometimes it's overly used and abused. So what we need to do right off the bat is we need to start defining what a miracle is to help us have a better understanding of what we're talking about. So simply put, a miracle is a special act of God that interrupts the regular or natural activity of events in the world. Notice, often a miracle confirms a message of God through a messenger of God. Now, there was a great philosopher and theologian, a Catholic one, by the name of Thomas Aquinas, and he defined a miracle, you guys, as something that nature cannot produce on its own. So if it's left to its own devices, there's no way that miracles can exist in the natural realm in and of itself. So he says miracles can only be produced by a supernatural power, i.e. God. All right? So much so where C.S. Lewis, he said, if there are miracles, it's because God exists. God exists, therefore you're going to have miracles. Matter of fact, notice what C.S. Lewis says when it comes to stripping miracles from Christianity. He says this in God in the Dock, Essays on Theology and Ethics. He says, one is very often asked at present whether we could not have a Christianity stripped, or as people who ask it say, freed from its miraculous elements. A Christianity with the miraculous elements suppressed. Now, it seems to me that precisely the one religion in the world, or at least the only one I know with which you could not do that, is Christianity. He also says in Miracles, a Preliminary Study, another book, quote, a naturalistic Christianity leaves out all that is specifically Christian, end quote. So you guys, this is very important. That as Christians, as a Christian theist, I believe miracles exist, that they're a special act of God, that when they have occurred in history, or if there are some that still occur today or will occur in the future, they're interruptions, they're interventions, if you will, in the regular natural activity, in the regular course of time. They don't violate nature. We'll talk about that in a minute. But they're a miracle because God is confirming something. There's a message, whether it be through a messenger of God. So if you always looked in the Old Testament with certain prophets, one of the verifications or authentications on a prophet was if they could perform miracles. Because, I mean, think about it. Yeah. And a lot of times people say that, hey, if a miracle were to happen right now, then I believe that there is a God. And what they're saying is if something happened outside the natural realm, then, okay, I'll be more inclined. But until I see that, I'm not going to believe. And so this is a very sensitive topic sometimes, you guys, where I don't want us just to come off, be all theological, be all philosophical, and neglect to really hear from a person's heart of why they disbelieve in miracles or why they're struggling to believe in God. Maybe they say there's not enough evidence because they've never seen an actual miracle like somebody walking on water or somebody being raised from the dead or somebody who lost an arm and then it grew back and things like that. And they're saying, until I see that, I won't believe. Or maybe they struggle too because of the problem of evil. So make sure that the purpose of this is not to get ammunition so you go out there and you could blast people. The purpose here is for us to, again, stay informed and to learn to defend the faith. And so when we're out there engaging people maybe who are atheists or people who are struggling, that you can have a challenging conversation with respect and with dignity. I also, real quickly, before I go to the next point, want to share with you a definition from Antony Flew. This was a legendary atheist philosopher who turned to become more like a deist and believing in more of a theism. And Gary Habermas has had a lot to do with that. They've become good friends through the years, and he's really helped Antony Flew understand Christianity in a better light. Now, he says a miracle is something which would never have happened had nature, as it were, been left to its own devices. So the bottom line, you guys, based on this definition I gave you and what I share with Antony Flew, and combined with what C.S. Lewis was talking about, you can't have miracles if there is no God. Now, the other thing we have to understand before I show you guys the differences between natural occurrences and supernatural occurrences, the fact is miracles are rare, okay? They don't happen every single day. They don't happen all the time. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to distinguish them from normative occurrences. So now let's look at the differences between natural occurrences and supernatural occurrences. Now, in order to do that, I'm going to put up this chart here so you guys can see what I mean. On one hand, you have natural occurrences, and then you have here on the right, supernatural occurrences. Now, notice, natural things are regular, they're repeatable, they're predictable, and I'm going to throw in another one, and they're observable, on a regular basis. Okay, so you can see a pattern in the natural realm. However, with supernatural ones, they're not regular, they're irregular. They're not repeatable, they're not predictable. And oftentimes, not everybody was able to observe them. Sometimes miracles only happened to an individual or to a small group. Sometimes they did happen to a larger population that people saw. And the reason why I lay this out, and this is important for us to understand, is because there's a lot of people who oftentimes will say, look, supernatural has to fit in with the natural realm. So they have to be repeatable. They have to be predictable. They have to occur on a regular basis, because if they don't, then it's because they're not true. And again, you can start quote unquote falsifying them based on putting on demands that don't fit, into its proper meaning. So what I want to do is I do want to show you two individuals who rejected miracles, who actually take a form of the natural occurrences with the supernatural occurrences, and they kind of bring a distortion. Now, men like Benedict Spinoza, who lived in the 17th century, and David Hume, the great Scottish philosopher who lived in the 18th century, they argued against miracles. Okay, so they argued against supernaturalism. Spinoza personally claimed that the laws of nature can't change. Now, what he believed, and this is a Jewish philosopher, and I remember studying him in my Jewish philosophy at the University of Arizona, and what he believed was that God, who is immutable, is creation. Creation is eternal. Therefore, creation is immutable. So if you had miracles occurring in nature, he saw that as a violation. It was disrupting the course of nature. It was changing nature. And God can't change, therefore creation can't change. Therefore, there are no miracles. That's what he believed. They were a violation of natural laws. Now, Hume, on the other hand, he denied the credibility of miracles because they are rare, he said, and they lack eyewitness testimony. Now, what's interesting, though, about David Hume is he didn't consider any of the eyewitness accounts, by the way, of these miracles that were reported in the Bible, in the Old and New Testament, to be credible. Why? Because he didn't believe on the face of it that the Bible itself was credible. Again, that is circular reasoning, but I'm not going to be touching on that exactly, in this video. I want to be looking at a few other things. And so let's jump into a rebuttal of Spinoza and Hume to understand these positions and then help you, again, know how you can properly respond to people who say that, miracles don't exist because they are a violation, or they can't exist because they violate the natural realm, or there's not enough eyewitness accounts based on what David Hume was saying. Now, obviously, there are major problems with Hume's denial of miracles. I'm going to start with Hume primarily because he has a chunk of so much stuff. Because one of the things that we see right off the bat, you guys, with Spinoza, is we know that the universe is not eternal. We know the universe had a beginning. And yet Spinoza believed that the universe was eternal because the universe is God. He's kind of more like this pantheist understanding of nature with God. And so he's mixing material and immaterial. And so that's a contradiction in and of itself. So that's why Spinoza doesn't, based on that understanding of nature and God, that's why he ruled out miracles. Well, we know that to be false. So what I'm going to do is for the rest of the time, I want to focus on Hume's denial of miracles. Now, I want to introduce to you guys a guy named Craig Kinner, Dr. Craig Kinner. He wrote a great book called Truth or Consequences. And it's interesting because when he was looking and examining the definition that Hume used, he says that he conveniently defines the terms of miracle and the laws of nature to his advantage. Notice, this is what Kinner writes, quote, Hume manages to define away any possibility of a miracle occurring by defining miracle as a violation of natural law, yet defining natural law as principles that cannot be violated, end quote. So that's one of the things. He props up his own definitions to refute miracles on the basis. And again, notice what he said. He says he defines miracle as a violation of natural law. Okay, so that's what a miracle is. Notice what I gave the definition of a miracle. And so by him defining what a violation of the natural law is, he's defining natural law as a principle that cannot be violated. So if miracles violate natural law and the natural law can't be violated, miracles can't occur. Well, again, let's look at the definition. No, a proper understanding of a miracle is a special act of God. It's a supernatural act that doesn't violate. No, it's an interruption. It's an intervention into the regular natural activities. So yes, it's a rare occurrence on that. They don't happen on a regular basis. And there's usually a confirmation that comes with this interruption. So we have to look at Hume's denial, you guys, of the supernatural on the basis that he's saying there's no evidence that they exist. But here's the question. How does David Hume know that? Because according to Hume, if you can't test it in a lab, then you can't trust it. But if miracles are not repeatable and they're unpredictable, then how can he make such a leap and rule out all miracles in the past, in the present, and also in the future if he's never been able to examine even one of them? So based on his own definition, it does not hold up. Another rebuttal to Hume's denial of miracles is he improperly weighs miracles on odds rather than facts. You see, you guys, miracles aren't based on the odds of whether or not they can or cannot occur, whether they have happened or they can happen. They are based on compelling evidence, corroboration, and observation. So based on his own, definition to some extent, let's apply some of the corroboration and observation that people have laid out in the Bible and also outside the Bible. Another major flaw in Hume's argument against miracles is that Hume believed our knowledge or, the knowledge that we have of the cause and effect is limited on account that our sensory experiences are flawed. So we are not able to fully know whether or not they've actually occurred. What? I mean, so again, that's the whole point. So he's like, there's not enough eyewitness accounts to corroborate whether or not miracles occur. But even if we could corroborate whether or not they occurred, our sensory experiences are flawed. So we can't really be sure if they've occurred. But how is he able to know in his own sensory experiences that they haven't occurred? See, that's a contradiction, guys. It does not make sense. And by the way, notice, isn't it convenient that Hume can make a metaphysical statement that anything outside the realm of the physical can exist? You see, guys, what Hume is doing is he's affirming something in the effort to deny it at the same time. You can't do that. He's not being consistent in his philosophy. Despite Hume's attempts to refute miracles, the evidence for miracles, you guys, is overwhelming. And I think one of the biggest things that Hume failed to do is to disprove God's existence. Because you guys, listen, you can't be fully conclusive on whether or not God exists or he doesn't exist. But Hume fails to prove that there is no God. Therefore, he leaves the door open for the possibility of miracles. You know, miracles are not hard, you guys, to believe when you consider that the greatest miracle took place when God created the universe. Genesis 1, verse 1, Job 26, verse 10, Psalm 33, verse 6, Jeremiah 10, verse 12. You and I live in a theistic universe. The fact that the universe was created with intelligent design and that objective morality is binding on all humankind points to God. Think about it, you guys. The known universe appears to have a radius of 14 billion light years. The moon is 240,000 miles away from the Earth, and the sun is about 93 million miles away. Neptune is an astounding 2.7 to 2.9 billion miles away from the Earth. And yet, each planet, star, and galaxy has been placed and programmed to contribute to the rest of the universe with precision. You guys, this is no accident. This is not just coincidental. It's supernatural. Once the universe can be explained by the order of a creator, then the miracles of parting the Red Sea, turning the water into the wine, Jesus walking on water, Jesus healing people, Jesus raising people from the dead, and even Jesus himself rising from the dead, you guys, they're all possible. You know, most people, you guys, they're looking for miracles. They are. They're looking for miracles in their life. And I just want to leave you guys with this. There is a God. And this God sent his son, Jesus Christ, into the world to live a sinless life, to take on the sins that you and I have committed. And he nailed it to the cross, and he died to sin. But on the third day, he rose again to give you and I life. He offers us life. He offers us forgiveness of sins. So you guys, if you're doubting about miracles, if you're doubting the Bible, if you're struggling and you're hurting, I pray that you would talk to God, that you would ask for him to reveal himself to you, that you would even open the Bible or download the app on your phone and go to the Bible app, the YouVersion, and read the Bible. If you've never taken time to do that, read the Bible. If you struggled and you haven't made sense of a lot of things, I recommend a few books. I wrote a book called The Bible's Answers to 100 of Life's Biggest Questions. I encourage you guys to get that. I also encourage you guys to get my latest book called Challenging Conversations. I talk about a lot of issues about mental illness. I talk about porn. I talk about substance abuse, divorce and remarriage. I talk about racism and politics and abortion. So get a copy there. There's also a great book that a friend of mine, Dr. Frank Turek, wrote with our mentor, Dr. Norman Geisler, who passed away a few years ago, called I Don't Have Enough Faith to Be an Atheist. I encourage you guys to get that book. I also encourage you guys to get C.S. Lewis's book called Miracles, one of the best books that I believe C.S. Lewis has ever written, to further your study into knowing that the Bible is indeed true, because miracles, in one case you can use as an argument apologetically, the miracles have occurred because God exists. So hopefully you guys, this has been a blessing to you guys to help you understand that we can know to a great certainty. And we can rest assured to know that the Bible's not lying to us when it talks about miracles, because if there is a God, then miracles have occurred. So thank you guys for watching. Until next time, keep standing strong, my friends.